Raising Tech podcast. I'm your host, Amber Barden, and today's guests are a company that everyone listening to this knows and loves. Today we have Brightly Software, a Siemens company, also known as the WorxHub. They have been in senior living for over 20 years. They provide a first-in-class CMMS system for life plan communities across the US and Canada. So everybody here has heard of WorxHub. I'm excited to have them on the podcast, and representing the WorxHub today, we have Ed Young. Ed Young is a senior account manager, and we also have Taylor First. Taylor First is a senior solutions consultant and product specialist, and together they have more than 15 years experience with the WorxHub by Brightly and in the senior living industry. Ed and Taylor, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Amber.
And my voice will sound very familiar to a lot of people. I'm on a lot of the recordings, a lot of the training materials that we have out there. So people are probably tired of hearing from me at this point, but thanks for having us.
They're just excited to hear your voice again.
You know, some people just keep coming back.
So let's talk about the name of your product, because we were having this conversation before we started recording. And so as you guys heard in the intro, I called it the WorxHub because I was just told that that's what it's supposed to be called, which I did not know. So do you want to talk a little bit about that to start off?
Yeah, it is all one word, the WorxHub. All together, it's been around, been in the market since about 2005 and its earlier iterations, and went to the cloud in 2015 as the WorxHub. So we've been in the market for a long time, and it is a hub for all of senior living operations.
So if anybody has not heard of the WorxHub, which I'm assuming everyone has, but can you just give us a brief overview of what the platform is?
Yeah, I can start with that, and Taylor can maybe fill in the gaps. But the WorxHub is a cloud-based, all-in-one platform designed to ease the burden on senior living operations managers. The platform is purpose-built for senior living communities. It's packed with a ton of useful features to help ensure, communities run efficiently and effectively. That's probably the way I would describe it, just to, there's a lot more I could say about it, but that's a good starting point.
Yeah, and we do fully fall into that CMMS conversation. That is kind of at the core of what we do, our maintenance management software that is, obviously reactive work, preventative maintenance, asset management, everything about that. But we try to go well beyond just what a traditional CMMS would bring to a senior living community. And that's where we got our start, was with the maintenance module. But over the years, our clients have asked us to help them manage more and more of their operations. So we've brought in a housekeeping module to manage their reactive requests, as well as the day-to-day work schedules, even long-term capital planning tools, inventory for managing your consumable items like belts, bulbs, batteries, filters, and the like. And then we get into the activities management, where with on-campus events, room booking, planning for club meetings, but also guest suite stays, but going beyond just the calendar aspects of those to the work that's involved in setting up, doing tear down and cleanup tasks, even the catering that can be associated, and transportation tools for those day-to-day trips, group trips, regularly scheduled recurring trips, and the vehicle maintenance that's associated with that. So bringing a lot of that to the table. And a big one, also speaking with Parasol, is the IT management aspect of it. And a lot of people think of IT as staff IT. That's Parasol's world in a lot of cases. But we also like to talk about the resident requests that come in, and how we manage and quantify what's being asked for. And even on-campus physical security with our rounding and checkpoints and incident management. That's come up a lot. We've had several clients say that their legal team has required them to get a more formal documentation system for the security measures that they have in place. So we try to be that all-in-one solution for senior living operations.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned all of those components, Taylor, because that is one of the things I love about your product. And that's when I'm talking to clients and they don't have your product, I always bring that up, is that you have so many different components. A lot of people just think of the maintenance work order side. I think another one you have that you didn't mention is the security module as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last one on the on-campus physical security. Absolutely. And that's, we take a lot of pride in that, but also being able to allow it to be an a la carte selection, that you're
Mhm.
not just paying for all those things and only using, 10% of it. You get to build over time and bring in solutions as you have a need for it.
Yeah. So I think you solve a lot of operational problems through the WorxHub software. And so tell me, how do you see it fitting into the bigger ecosystem of the other tech stack that clients have to have, such as resident engagement apps, EMRs, things like that? How does the WorxHub integrate and fit in with those types of tools?
Yeah, we kind of we have our lane. We're not trying to be something we're not, but we want to play a role in the day-to-day resident experience. And some of that is our ability to have resident information in the Works Hub. And that's actually going to get a little bit easier with our clients who are using point-click care. We're on the verge, hopefully next month, releasing an integration with point-click care to make that resident management easier, tracking resident moves throughout the community
Right,
so
that's
that
really
they're
big. We've been waiting for that for a long time. Can you say that again? The
yes,
PCC integration is coming.
yes, we are going to have a PCC integration to help with resident moves tracked within the work sub. So that's
That's
something
amazing.
really excited about. Happy to bring that to the market. We know it's been asked for a long time. There have been a lot of hurdles, but we're hoping for an early May release with that new integration. So that'll be strictly for the resident moves within the work sub, but also you'll still be able to do that billing. It'll make that a little bit easier because all the resident account numbers will already be in the system, and accurate because we know
Yeah.
that the cleanliness of data sometimes can fall by the wayside when you have those two manual processes. So that's a big one. Obviously, the billing aspect, being able not, and I know billing's a touchy subject in senior living. Some people are all for it. Some people say everything's included. But when those needs for billing arise, and honestly, we talk about billing as guardrails for service creep. When residents just start asking for more and more and more, it also allows for, in some cases, even opening up more services because you can now have a tangible benefit for what that looks like. Um, so we can kind of play alongside all those things, but that resident information being in is the thing that impacts that day-to-day resident satisfaction experience. When you can have a note that says, on the maintenance side, please take your, put on paper booties before you come into my unit, and having that permission to enter note. And on the housekeeping side, it might say, don't touch the trophies over the sofa, or only use the natural cleaning supplies under the sink. So having access to that specific resident experience impacts their day-to-day life. And then our ability to survey residents, get those satisfaction surveys sent out automatically using our QA and survey tool to actually get feedback from them. How was your experience with your maintenance tech, with your housekeeper, with anything about the campus that a client wants to survey their resident population for?
I didn't know about the survey component. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a very flexible tool. It's got the survey side for getting that feedback. You can build your own rating scale. Some people have very specific keywords that they want to use for how they get feedback. Whether it's a three point scale or a 7 point scale, whatever it is. But it also helps with building walkthroughs. You can build your pass fail building inspections that a lot of EDs, maintenance directors might do on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. Build that inspection unique to your building and do your pass fail inspections. Is the building up to snuff? And even bringing that into the compliance world.
Amber, I want to go back to actually your initial question there about resident engagement platforms. One of the things that we've seen in our tenure is the change in terms of what residents are looking for and what they expect when they come to a life plan community. 10, 15 years ago, I would say that most residents were, afraid of technology. They were adverse to it, but now they're coming in expecting certain things. So, when you're talking about those resident engagement platforms, we saw an opportunity there to help streamline some processes. It basically allows that resident to submit work requests directly into the WorxHub from their resident engagement platform without having to have a WorxHub login. Um, Work orders show up in the system the same to a technician as it would as if they were, submitting that request through a concierge or entering it themselves. So, yeah, it's one of those little things that, is a process that's uh, sort of ties into one of the goals that we have is when we have clients that implement the WorxHub, we want to make sure that it's going to make sure it's going to improve efficiencies. Okay, put time back in their day. And when you talk to a facility director, plan ops director, and you tell them you're going to put time back in their day, they usually are smiling.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to elaborate a little bit more on that resident piece because, can you do the surveys through the resident engagement apps as well? Is that all integrated or which components are integrated?
So the work status updates are integrated back to the resident portal. So if they get completion information, if gets put on hold for a reason, if we need to order parts or maybe the resident's away, they can get those status updates. The surveys would be sent out by email to the residents directly.
Okay, that makes sense. So I know one of the challenges that I see at the communities I visit is a lot of times maintenance and housekeeping, they're one of the last holdouts with technology, a little bit slower to embrace it. I have seen pretty much as a standard now that maintenance teams are doing the mobile documentation and they're using the app and being able to go around the community and use the WorxHub live while they're going about their day. Still seeing some resistance in the housekeeping side, but I'm curious from your perspective, how do you get over that technology hurdle? What are your recommendations, advice you would give to a community?
Yeah, that's a great question. And in my
Yeah.
experience, again, I've done on-campus implementations of the WorxHub in communities and sat in rooms with these folks. And housekeeping is always the last group on campus to get technology. It's just it's tough to bring along that change from either a person wanting to own it on spreadsheets or things like that. The first thing it comes back to is data, is understanding what's being done, who's doing it, having a record that can be searched. Show me all of the cleanings that were done in this residence unit over the last year. What extra services have they asked for in the last year? Having those records specific to the unit, even down to having time tracking for how long a cleaning takes. Are your housekeepers have they have a 45-minute cleaning window, but are they spending 30 minutes in there? Or are they spending an hour and 20 minutes in there? And what are the drivers behind that? So having it comes back to data at the end of the day, but also housekeeping tends to be a pretty high turnover team at most senior living communities. And that speed to getting someone spun up, having a consistent task list in front of them can help ramp housekeepers up a little bit faster, and getting a consistent task list of instructions every time they go into that resident unit. And having, again, those little resident nuggets that tend to live in some housekeepers' heads are written in a little black book that says, they have a little dog, don't let it out, or it might be a little bit yappy, but it's super friendly. Those are the things that can impact the resident experience day to day if it's not their normal housekeeper coming in, if someone's called out or you have a new housekeeper visiting that resident for the first time.
Yeah, I would add a couple things to that too. And again, going back to your original question about like how do you get them past that initial hurdle especially when you have a community that's moving from like manual processes to something like the WorxHub. So a couple of things. I would say on the maintenance side, one of the interesting things that we've seen is you have sort of two types of employees, let's say. You have that person who's been there for 30 years and only knows what he knows and he has his system, et cetera. But then you have the newer generations that are coming into the workforce and joining, and they don't know anything but the technology. So what we find when we do, let's say we implement a community, there's a full-on implementation and training that goes with that, and we dedicate a certain amount of time to that mobile functionality to make sure that they are comfortable with it. I think the fear of the unknown and just change on its own provokes some anxiety. But I think once they start using it, and we encourage not just maintenance teams, but I would say even probably more so on the housekeeping side, that they don't have to 100% abandon their process and flip a switch and go to mobile. They can still print out schedules and do things and cross-reference them with their iPad or tablet that they have. And what we have found is it doesn't take long for them to see how easy it is to use. And all of a sudden, that paper schedule ends up going away. So, look, we believe in that sort of, crawl, walk, run. We don't want somebody to go from crawling to running because it's going to be difficult to get full buy-in from the staff and using the solution.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think you're right that there is a lot of fear around it, and I hear a lot of times like, "Oh, housekeeping will never use mobile devices. They love their paper. We can't get them to change." But we heard the same thing about the maintenance teams, and a lot of them have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've sat in rooms with the person sitting in the back with arms crossed. I'm never going to technology, and 3 months
Yeah.
later, they're at the top of the leaderboard with time tracking and tracking their work. I did want to add two tiny little nuggets to putting mobile in the hands of housekeepers. The first one is housekeeping staff is the best eyes and ears of every single community. They go more places more often than anybody else. And if nothing else, the ability for them to drop a request in real time into the maintenance team when they see something with a picture of a door that won't latch or a cabinet door hanging off its hinges or a dishwasher that's leaking, that gets that information to the maintenance team more quickly, but also doesn't rely on the housekeeper having to remember that for 2 hours until they're able to get back and log that in. So that's a big deal. And also from a comfort standpoint, Ed talked about implementation. I always like to throw this out there for a lot of our long-term clients who might just have maintenance right now and have been fearful about bringing in housekeeping. Every module that you add within the WorxHub comes with its own implementation.
Mhm.
It's not like we just turn on that next module and you're on your own after that. You get a whole new implementation and training cycle with our implementation team.
Yeah, it's an interesting time period that we're in because when I go to communities, I hear things, like we even rolling out AI tools or co-pilot tools. Well, we have staff that are still on flip phones or they don't really understand how to use the computer. And it's kind of hard because you want to bring everyone along with you, but also the world is going that way. You can't hold back the whole community because some staff aren't ready for it.
Yeah.
And and that's not just on their side, it's on our side too. And what I mean by that is the CMMS systems from 2015, 2016 are not going to be enough, for lack of better words, for the demands that communities are expecting today. So you we have to evolve as well as the people that are providing the tools. But 100% agree with you. It's just um, you know, they need to come along, and it's just a matter of being able to hold their hand and get them comfortable with the solutions that they have access to.
So we can't record any podcasts or talk about anything technology today without, where I'm going with this, Taylor, without talking about AI. So
Yep.
what's up and coming with AI with the Works Hub? Anything you can share with us that's going to be innovative, something new?
Yeah, with AI right now, in some cases it's a buzzword. We talk to new prospects like, do you have AI? Do you have AI? What's great about what we do working with facilities is at the end of the day, we know people still need to turn wrenches. We know the work still needs to be done. So what we're trying to figure out is how do we best support that work that still needs to be done at the end of the day. And I'm in conversations every single week about where we're going to bring AI into the Works Hub that will impact both the technicians and leadership to be able to give them more insights into how to manage their work. So we're looking at dashboard alerts, alerting for repeat incidents on assets, repeat incidents in resident locations, and also tools to support technicians where they can search for, hey, I'm working on this asset, give me recommendations for tools and parts and steps that need to be taken. So we're looking at both kind of dashboard updates, but also more of like a technician co-pilot aspect of this. We haven't finalized anything. We don't know what the final and what the steps are going to be, the evolution. But that is something that we are working on right now to take that next step and do it thoughtfully. Because we don't want to just throw AI into the software to say we have it to check a box. We want to do it in a way that's going to best support our clients at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is a buzzword. And we've had a lot of conversations with vendors on these podcasts about, be wary of vendors who are talking about AI too much, because
Mhm.
like you're saying,
Yeah.
you have to still have these enterprise systems and they still have to function at their basic level. But it is interesting, at Paris Alliance, we're an IT company. It's similar to what the WorxHub does. We use a ticketing system and automations and things like that. So it is interesting to think about what are the opportunities that can take some of those manual, repetitive processes that you're doing every day and just make those a little bit easier to manage.
Mhm. And
I
we
would
want to.
say, sorry, just to add to that, in talking with existing clients, when the topic comes up, at least from my end, I will put it back on them and say, tell me more about what you're looking for. What brought this to the table today? Why are we talking about this? And in most cases, they don't have an answer. It's
Yeah,
just,
that's
and
true.
this goes back to that buzzword. It's just,
Yeah.
they just want to know if we are in the process of coming out with any additional, functionality on the AI side. And
Yeah.
I will tell you that like most companies today, it's one of the key things on the roadmap, if they don't already have something in place. So
How about on the analytics side? Are you doing anything as far as data analytics from an AI perspective or otherwise?
So it's not as much on the AI side. From an analytics perspective, we are actually in the final stages of a new tool called Data Share that will allow for WorxHub data to be pumped into a BI dashboard, whether that's Power BI or Tableau, and then also commingle that information with information from your financials, from your HR software, so that you can cross-reference those things into those BI tools. So that's the biggest thing from an analytics standpoint that we're working on right now, is making it easier to manipulate that data and put it alongside the data that you have from the other platforms that are within the community.
So a question I have for you, and I didn't prep this one for you guys in advance. If you don't have an answer, that's okay. But one of the common operational problems I hear at communities is turnover management, unit turnover management.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, how does the Works Hub help solve for that?
It is
yeah,
it is one of my favorite aspects of the WorxHub, and Ed's already
yeah,
laughing because I could talk about this for an hour by itself. But part of the core functionality of the WorxHub is our projects tool. If you're using the WorxHub today, it's a little tab at the top left that's between the request tab and the pulse tab. And the projects tool is essentially a package of work orders where you can set up your unit turns. You can even set up templates. I've had clients set up templates with 30 work orders in it that cover every possible scenario of a basic unit turn all the way up to a full to the studs unit reno, where you're looking at switches and thermostats and countertops and appliances. Every work order becomes a separate step. You can track the costs on each of those individual work orders. That'll roll up to the project as a whole, so you can track the full cost investment next to the budget that you've outlaid for that project. Even any additional billables, if that incoming resident wants upgraded appliances, they don't want the basic KitchenAid fridge, they want that LG fridge they'll connect to their phone. You can track what the upgraded billables are to that project. The great thing also, because with that multi-departmental approach, is that project can contain work orders from multiple departments. So housekeeping doing the final deep clean or staged cleans throughout. If IT is going to be coming in to set up, cable and phone and Alexa and things like that, all of the work within the project is tracked together. And now you have a record back to that unit so that 2 years from now, 5 years from now, when you're doing another turn, you can look back and alongside all the break fix history, all the filter changes you've done in that unit, you've also got the project history. So you know everything that's happened every step of the way. So unit turns are very much part of the WorxHub today. Every one of our WorxHub users can make use of it.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's really good information because it is a common issue. How about on the sales side? How does the sales side impact that?
Yes. So you can set up an automated report that will just send if you've never played with our reports, you have the ability to set favorites. And then with those favorites, you can set subscriptions. So you can have a email go to your marketing team every Monday and Friday. Here's the status of all of our open projects. It'll give a quick work order overview of each job. It'll give some analytics on, is this project on time? Is it on budget? So that's how you can keep them in the loop. Sometimes those marketing meetings can now be an email because it's going to show up in their inbox on the schedule that you ask it to.
Mhm. Okay, it's good to know. Got a couple clients I'm going to reach out to after this podcast and let them know that this is in a tool they already have.
Happy to. The projects tool I feel like is one of our more powerful, underutilized tools within the system.
I was going to say definitely underutilized.
Yeah, and I'm a project manager, so I'm all about those project tools.
Yeah, absolutely. And that the multi-departmental aspect of it, I rarely talk to a housekeeping manager that hasn't said, "Oh yeah, I've gotten the call. Oh my gosh, the resident's getting here this afternoon, and we weren't told to do the final deep clean." So putting that all on a single dashboard so that the whole project is managed every step of the way, whether that's internal work or your vendors. If you don't have your contractors in the WorxHub to track the work that they're doing, please get your contractors loaded in. Every scrap of work within the community should end up, no matter whether it's your team or an external vendor doing the work.
Well, we've covered a lot of really good topics today. I'm curious, is there anything that you think people don't know about the WorxHub that you would like them to know that you want to share before we wrap up?
I'll start. I mean, Taylor, you probably have your own thoughts on this, but through some of the conversations we've had today, I think one of the things that I share with clients and prospects is there is a lot of value in purchasing solutions that seamlessly integrate with the core functionality that you have. So today we've talked about, maintenance and housekeeping, and we touched on transportation and room bookings, and just finished talking about the projects tab. To have everything in one centralized location where everything integrates seamlessly, as opposed to having what we refer to as siloed products, is huge for the users because things don't get missed. They have accurate data, they have accurate reporting. I could go on, but I think that's one of the major things, and I would say differentiators with us to some of our competitors.
Yeah, and I'm going to tie in kind of a slightly different theme as I answer this question. One of the things that I feel like senior living has been honestly a little bit behind on that is now being brought to the forefront is asset management, is tracking all of your equipment, all the work history, whether that's generators, boilers, air handlers, HVAC, vehicles, anything that you're tracking, that you're investing in, that you do work on can be added as an asset into the WorxHub. Everyone has asset management. It's just part of the system. But what that brings me to is the WorxHub, and there are a lot of CMMS systems out there. There are a lot of systems that have tickets and schedule work orders and PMs. But what I like to talk about with the WorxHub is resource management, the human resources, and that's not going away. You've got, you want to know who's doing the work, where are they doing it, how much time are they spending, how many jobs are they doing. The asset resources, those things that keep the lights on, that keep your residents warm and safe. And then finally, the financial resources. How do you choose to make those repair versus replace decisions on an asset? How do you justify the staff that you have or hiring new staff? How do you make those informed decisions based on data and not just, hey, we need this and banging the table for it? And data-driven decisions are what gets things pushed across the finish line when you have information to make those decisions. And all that is basic functionality of the WorxHub to be able to track, document, and then report on all the information that comes into our system.
Wow, excellent. Well, the WorxHub is an amazing product. I'll say that. I always recommend it to our clients, and I'm so happy we had you guys on the podcast so we could talk about it. I could learn some new things. Hopefully our listeners picked up some new things. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for bringing us on. We'd love to chat again.
You can find us online at raisingtechpodcast.com, where you can see all of our episodes and contact us to provide feedback or submit an episode idea. We are on social media everywhere at Raising Tech Podcast. If you enjoy Raising Tech, please leave us a review and share with a friend. Music is an original production by Tim Riesig, one of our very own Parasol Alliance employees. As always, thank you for listening.